Hello, today we will be talking about Jean-Jacques Rousseau and his discourse on inequality. Firstly, I will introduce the background of the author. Rousseau was born in 18th century in Geneva. During his lifetime, Louis XIV of France had achieved an absolute monarch, and he was then called the Sun King, a title which manifests his power in itself. Rousseau's family had to flee from the city of Geneva, and during his time, Rousseau was exposed to some luxurious lifestyle during his travel to Paris and cities like that. We can see that influence. We can see all those incidents have influence on his thought to be more radical than many of his contemporaries. And now let's look into the content. Firstly, Rousseau starts his argument by imagining people in a state of nature like many other thinkers during the Enlightenment. However, he does not have a pessimistic view like Thomas Hobbes that the savages, without regulation and constraint of the state, will be evil and kill each other for a living. He is not particularly religious like John Locke either, who believes that the savages will be good and taken care by the benevolent God in their state of nature. Instead, uh, instead, Rousseau's version of savages is by nature ignorant of evil and of good. As many animals in the nature, what drives the savages is only basic needs, namely to avoid hurt and hunger. They are trained by the nature and tempered in their behavior to be stronger over time. Nature also provides them everything like food, shelter, and clear water to survive in the wild. They have nothing other than their own lives to lose, so they always live life to the full without much fears. Interestingly, it contrasts with Hobbes a lot. There is another quote even in Rousseau's book states that when the savages die, they don't even feel any strong emotions like us because they have no foresight and no regret like us. Nature also teaches the savages to pity for others, which Rousseau observes from animals and some general human reaction towards the sufferings. On the contrary, humans in the society are deprived of that ability to feel pity to the others and drawn to a competition of materials they own. Even some of the richest and most powerful people living in the society are in constant fear because compared to the natural state, they now have much to lose and they don't know the time in general when the weak and the poor will unite and overthrow and damage their wealth. As you may have discovered, and we mentioned about it, Rousseau's view contrasts greatly with Hobbes. In the book, he sometimes directly addresses to Hobbes and even employs some very strong language against him. There, in the right, It's a sentence he quotes from Herodotus, showing that evil can still exist even in the rule of laws. Sometimes the law itself can become the enemy of the people also. And it is my favorite lines from the book. And finally, that leads to our final topic, French Revolution. French revolutionaries like Robespierre were deeply influenced by Rousseau's idea of virtues. Robespierre himself, when he was enrolled in a prestigious Parisian school in his youth, was exposed to many Enlightenment ideas and was fascinated by them. However, ironically, he becomes Robespierre himself during the Reign of Terror, seems to become exactly the tyrant Rousseau criticizes in the paragraph in the left. Rousseau does not support the revolution himself. What he says in the book is that we cannot and should not try to go back to that state of nature since we have already developed a civilization. This is a paradox. And clearly, Robespierre is developing an extremist version of Rousseau rather than actually under its influence. Since we can hardly connect guillotine with Rousseau's idea, which emphasized the power of softness, like innocence and pity and compassion to the others. And I think that's all.